evolved from the UN Conference on Sustainable Development, which happened in Rio de Janeiro in 2012. And the main objective was to produce a set of universal goals that meet the urgent environmental, political, and economic challenges facing all over the world. All these 17 goals are interconnected with one another, and which always talks about the success of impacts which reflects in others. So these three are economic goals. Hello, yeah, is it clear?
Yes.
So the economic goals are talks about around seven goals are coming under the economic goals, and five are in environmental goals, and five are in social goals. And now we are talking about one of the environmental goals, which is in the sustainable SDG, which is a part of the SDG. It is climate, and then it is life below the water. And the main theme of this life below the water is conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. The picture which is representing in this area, which gives a very clear information about what is the emergency required to protect the ocean. So it is coastal aerifications and then ocean acidification. We need to avoid it, and the ocean warming and the plastic pollution for the past decades, where the groom of the plastic industries are polluting the sea by the way of throwing the plastics in the sea. So, and overfishing also is a problem. So there are so many problems are there towards the life below water. But these are the five reasons which are highly emergency. We need to take care of it. And when it comes to the context setting, if the ocean were a country, you assume that if the ocean were the country, it would be the seventh largest economy. Let me explain it in the later stage of where it stands on the entire economical situation. But our oceans are the lifeblood of our planet, which covers over 71% of the Earth's surface, regulating the entire climate, feeding the billions of species, and sustaining the biodiversity. No. So the diagrammic presentation, which talks about like oceans contribute to 2.5 billion trillion annually to global economy, and then which is called as economic contribution. And for climate regulations, the oceans regulate climate essential to planetary balances. Our ocean is an infinite resources. Around 3 billion people depends on marine biodiversity for livelihood. The entire population of the world is only 8.5 plus billion. But out of it, you just assume 30% of the populations are depends on the marine biodiversity. And H, they are under unprecedented threat. The reason is, that's why I asked the question, why? Let me present what is the reason behind it. So the SDG 14 aims to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, as I said earlier. How we are going to balance the ocean health? I have presented the 6 points pertaining to the sustainable ocean management, climate regulations, food security, economic impact. These three are naturally available in the ocean, and which is the critical value given by the oceans. So ocean plays these three roles. But what we do as a human, we pollute the ocean, overfishing create a problem, and habitat destructions. These three are created by the human. It is an artificial one. So these six areas were easily representing the value of a ocean, what it gives, and the damages what is happening by the human beings. And the entire session for the next 1 hour is going to cover about the ocean economy, SDG 14 evaluation. Even though people might have know about the evaluation, it is my responsibility to give a brief information about that one. And the targets of SDG 14 and benefits of ocean, challenges to sustainability, invisibility of degradation, initiatives taken, innovative solutions, a role of an academicians, and finally call to actions. These are the few areas where I'm going to cover about the SDG 14. And as I said earlier, top 7 economics in trillion. United Nations as the number one in $26 trillion. China plays second, Japan third, Germany fourth, India Fifth, UK is the sixth one. And the seventh economic is the ocean, which has a $2.5 trillion economic is happening because of this ocean. So that's why we call it as a top 7 economics, where it is presented by the WW Fund report based on the GDP in the year of 2023 data. And the evaluation of the SDG 14 in 1972, the United Nations, which had started this concept about UNEP, that is United States Environment Program, they started by the year of 1972. And in 1982, they represented as a close adopted establishment legal framework for ocean governance through the exclusive economic zones, EEZ, and high seas management to protect the earth and ocean. And in 1992, another Earth Summit has happened in Rio, which was called as Agenda 24, addressed in Chapter 17, addressed the oceans, but lacked binding the targets because we were not given prime importance, but we started thinking about the value of the ocean in 1992. By the year of 2000, the Millennium MDG, it is more famous, which is the initiate basement of the SDG, where it has interconnected the oceans, but excluded as a standalone goal. It was a part of the MDG 7. And in 2002, what happened during the summit, which happened in Rio, they set a non-binding targets for MPAs and fisheries recovery. It mostly failed due to based on the record, which we identified that it was a failed one. But in 2012, Rio Plus 20 conference, the laid groundwork for the SDG, which was called as a blue economy. The ocean were considered as a blue economy. That's why the concept of gained traction was happened in 2015. The addition of SDG and launch of SDG 14 happened, which is existing till 2030. By the year of 2017, the first UN Ocean Conference in NYC happened because of this SDG 14 initiated in the year of 2015. And by the year of 2020, the deadline for 10% of MPAs were happened. That MPA is about representing the Marine Protection Act. That is what MPA is. And by 2022, the second UN Ocean Conference has happened in Lisbon. And recently in 2023, the adoption of a High Sea Treaty has happened. So when we look after the chart for the past 15 years, the entire United Nations were taken various steps to protect the life below the water and to safeguard the ocean. This is a small evaluation about the SDG 14. But when in particularly about life below the water, the adoption year started in 2015, which I presented earlier. And the core main focus of this life below the water is ocean conservation, sustainable fisheries, and marine pollution reduction. And totally they defined 10 targets for SDG 14, life below the water. Out of the 10 targets, 7 outcomes have fixed the targets. 3 are in the implementation means as of now, based on the current data. And which is alignment with which links with the SDG 13. Climate action is related with this life below the water. And another SDG 12, responsible consumption is linked with this. And finally, the 6th SDG, clean water, is interconnected with this life below the water. There are 3 interlinks directly impacting this life below the water. And here the 10 targets, which is framed by the UN, were being presented for easy understanding. Reduce marine pollution, protect and restore the ecosystems, reduce ocean acidifications, sustainable fishing, and then conserve coastal and marine areas, end subsidies contribution to overfishing, increase the economic benefits from sustainable use of marine resources. Sorry. Increase scientific knowledge, research, and technology for ocean health, support small-scale fishers, and final target is implement and enforce international sea law. Let me explain each targets, how it impacted by the way of before the implementation of this and after the implementation, what is the current scenario. The first one is talking about the global initiatives to reduce the marine pollution, which talks about the UNEP Clean Seas campaign. So the UNEP is talks about the impact. What happened is 60 plus countries banned single-use plastic. That is what SUP is, and 50% reduction in plastic use by signatory brands, and few more international brands are there. Even we can there is no reason to stay about the name of this brand when Coca-Cola, Unilevers are coming under this category. And 1 billion plus people engaged through the educational programs for this particular cause. And before implementing these schemes, 8 million tons of plastics entered oceans every year. Only 10 countries had SUP bans before that. But after implementation of this clean sea campaigns, currently 30% decreases in plastic waste leakage in participating nations, and 500 plus cities implemented the zero waste policies in their states. This is one of very big achievements. And in addition to that global initiatives, they have introduced the MARPOL Annex 5 plastic waste from ships, which talks about the impact is $50 million levied since 2018. That means 90% decrease in ship-sourced plastic pollution, where the 70% of global ports now compliant about this. And before the implementation of this MARPOL Annex, the ships dumped 6.5 million tons of plastic annually, and where they weak enforcement in developing in developing nations. And
Mintu, please unmute yourself. Mintu.
hello.
Mintu, can you hear me? Rashmi, let him to unmute, please. Dr. Rashmi, unmute Mintu, please.
Okay, let me increase my volume higher than their sound. 99%
New generation.
compliance, yeah, of course. 99% compliance by major shipping lines, which is happening currently, because of the implementation of a MARPOL Annex 5. And then we need to thank the countries cities which are supporting for this, because of the only it's happened like and currently AI powered satellite monitoring detects violations are currently inactive, which can protect the seas. That is, and apart from this, and then the global host care initiatives were taken in the year of 2015, but where it impacted like 50,000 plus tons, 50,000 plus tons or abandoned fishing nets removed from the sea, and $750 million per year saved by reducing the gear loss, and 200,000 plus marine animals freed annually. Before the impact, it happened like 640,000 tons of ghost gear entered oceans yearly, but now it is reduced because of 100 plus companies adopted biodegradable gear system in their organizations. But before that, 30% of the fish stock decline linked to ghost gear, but currently it is 70% reduction in gear loss in key fisheries. So there is a success because of this implementation, so which can talk about the reduce marine pollution started. So currently we are into 2025, and I'm presenting the data which is reflecting the 2023 and 24. Probably within 5 years, we can find more number of good percentage of increase in the marine pollutions may reduced. And the next one is talking about reduce ocean acidifications. The three pictures talks about, one is the Paris Agreement, which happened in 2015, where they had imposed about global emission cuts, that carbon dioxide emission cuts to limit global warming. And before that, CO2 levels rising at 2.5 ppm per year. But after that, it is only 2 ppm per year, still it is insufficient. And the sustainable ocean plan was happened in the year of UN Ocean Conference, which happened in the year of 2022. And where the impact of this conference is 100 plus nations pledged to protect 30% of oceans by 2030. And where before that only less than 8% marine areas were protected. But currently 17% of the protected as of 2024 November report. That is what there is a drastic improvement you can find from less than 8% to 17% areas were being protected. And the global ocean acidification observing network were initiated because of this ocean acidification, where they track 40 plus countries of AO and guiding policies were being framed. But before that, limited OA data were being there, and especially in tropics before implementing by 2022. But now the real-time pH monitoring in coral reefs and fisheries are available. And again, another conferences were being happened in the year of 2016. It happened, not in the subsequent years. Earlier, like International Alliance to Combat Ocean Acidifications, 100 plus government and NGOs collaborated on OA solutions, which was earlier fragmented regional efforts, but currently the US and then West Coastal areas and Canada and Chile adopted the OA Asian plans. Major part of around 113 countries were being part of the system, And blue carbon projects were being initiated by the World Bank, where they advised to protect and observing sea grasses and wetlands. Earlier, 35% global seagrasses loss since 1900 figures, and currently 5 million hectares resorted, and most of the countries were been supporting for this, and more countries were benefited out of this system of a blue carbon projects. And carbon captures and storages where technologies were being increased in this system of reduce ozone acidification, where it directly reduce the CO2 levels. And only 20 CCS plans globally were being in before 5 years. And currently 40% of the operational plans were being implemented. And particularly in Norway's Northern Lights were being happened because of this system only. That is a few data about reducing ocean acidifications. And next one is about the global initiatives to conserve coastal and marine areas. The entire, I would like to talk only two areas with this. One is about the global 30 into 30 ocean pledge, which means about 30 into 30 means like we need to safeguard 30% of the land and 30% of the ocean by the year of 2030. That is what the policy were happened in the global 30 into 30 ocean pledge. And the impact of this is the entire system is preserved $2.5 trillion in ocean economic value, which is more sustainable global fisheries. The climate change is resilience improved because of the system. But before that, only 7% ocean were protected. As I said earlier, currently 17% of the oceans areas are now clearly protected by many countries. And rapid marine biodiversity loss were happened earlier. But currently 25% reduction in illegal fisheries is reserved. So the system is protected, involving the 25% reduction in the illegal fishing. And ramped illegal fishing were happened earlier. But now, because of this, 500 plus species were better protected because of this system. And next to the 30 into 30 ocean pledge. And the second system is about the Greater Barrier Reef protections was initiated in the country Australia, and which saved $6 billion annual tourism industry. The annual tourism industry will give more protection of this, which protected 64,000 jobs, maintained critical biodiversity in the system. And before that, the coral covers declined 50%, and frequent mass bleaching events were happened, and tourism were threatened. But after implementation of this Great Barrier Reef protection system, The bleaching impacts reduced 30%, and coral recovery in some areas were being are there, and water quality improved in those areas. That is about conserve coastal marine areas. And the next one is about protect and restore ecosystems. So mangrove restorations were happened, and then which can support us to reduce the storm damage by 25% stores. And before that, 35% of global mangroves lost since 1980, and the annual economic loss alone $42 billion from coastal erosion. But currently it is 5,000 plus square kilometer restored since 2010, and 50 plus countries implementing these restorations. And then the coral reef restoration were happen in this because of this restorations. 25% increase in reef fish populations were happened. That is what the main impact. And reef reduce wave energy by 97%, and which protects $36 billion every year. 36 billion every year global tourism values. But before coming up this coral reef restoration, 50% of coral lost since 1950. The annual bleaching events is around 90% of reefs. But currently, 60,000 corals replanted in Caribbean alone till a bit for the around 3 years, between the 3 years of 2020 and 2023. And 5 to 10% of the recovery is managed zones is happened because of it. And the European rebuilding is started about the global initiatives, where the main impact of this European rewilding is 40% revenues increases in rewild areas, which prevents $3 billion a year in flood damage, and peatlands store 2x more carbon than forest. And before that, 80% of wetlands lost in past century, and wolf populations near extinction. But currently 2.5 million hectares rewild, and 300% increase in European bison population because of this, And the fourth global initiatives through this protect and restore ecosystem as UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. 200 million plus green jobs generated, 150 million hectares of degraded farmland restored, and which could deliver about 30% of need of CO2 reductions. But before that, 75% of land ecosystems degraded. Before implementing this UN Decade on ecosystem restoration, 75% of the land ecosystems degraded, and 1 million species at risk. But currently, 115 nations launched this program, and you don't believe 1 billion plus trees planted globally because of this system implementation. So these are the various steps taken in the world level to protect and restore the ecosystems. And next one is about sustainable fishing. The global initiatives taken through this sustainable fishing are Marine Stewardship Council. It is called as MSC certification. The impact of this MSC certification is 32% increase in certified fisheries population, and 25% price premium for certified seafood, 40% decrease in non-target species captured. But before that, 90% of global fish stocks fully overexploited, and no standardized sustainability labels were being there. But after implementation of this MSC certifications, 20% of global wild catch were being certified, and 500 plus the fisheries meeting sustainability standard. It is a huge number in values, And again, the second global initiatives taken through the sustainable fishing is UN ban on high seas and bottom traveling. Before implementation of this, 40% of the deep sea habitats destroyed by traveling. But currently 60 plus nations enforcing restrictions, and 95% of the deep sea fish stocks overexploited before implementation of this UN ban. But currently 80% reduction in destructive trawling is in protected areas. And the third initiatives taken by the sustainable fishing is global ghost gear initiatives. You don't believe, before coming up this GGG initiatives, 640,000 tons of ghost gear entering oceans annually. It is a huge number. 30% decline in fish stocks linked to ghost gear. But currently, 100 plus companies committed to gear recovery. 70% reductions in ghost gear in key fisheries are happening currently because of this sustainable fishing habits. And next one is about global initiatives to end subsidies contributions to overfishing. Normally, what we do is subsidies always motivate others, to do their business. But in this case, we are expecting to end subsidies for overfishing. So the global initiatives taken in two areas for this end subsidies. One is WTO agreement on fishery subsidies happened in the year of 2022. The main impact of this WTO agreement is talks about the projects of 12% increase in global fish biomass by 2035. By 2035, WTO agreement is about a 12% increase in global fish biomass, and which ends in $22 billion every year in destructive subsidies favoring industrial fields. And first WTO agreement with environmental focus were happened in the year of 2022. And before implementing of this WTO agreement, $35 billion every year in harmful subsidies. Moreover, 80% going to large scale fleets and industrial fleets, 2.5x more capacity than sustainable levels. But after implementation of this WTO, 76 nations ratified the agreement, and 30% reduction in fuel subsidies reported by European Unions and Japan's. And second global initiatives taken by this end subsidy contribution is Global Oxygen Alliance, where the main impact of this alliance is 40% decline in the IUU fishing in protected zones. The impact about this is, which is happened to 100 plus nations committed to subsidy reform, and $1.2 billion reallocated to surveillance. But before that, 60% of subsidies enhanced overcapacity, which was utilized in a different way. So this end subsidies is one of the initiatives taken by UN and WTO to protect the overfishing. And the next one is talks about how to the global initiatives to increase the economic benefits from sustainable use of marine resources. There are three main areas where been focused as a global initiatives: the sustainable blue economy finance principles, which was initiated in the year of 2018. The impact of this blue economy finances investment growth, $30 billion plus mobilized for sustainable ocean projects alone, and risk reduction is 40% lower loan default for certified fisheries, and the jobs created because of the system is 5 million new jobs in ecotourism and aquaculture. This is the main impact of this sustainable blue economy finance. Before implementation of this blue economy, less than 5% of ocean investment met sustainably, which criteria is overfishing cost $83 billion every year in lost revenues, which made it as a lost revenue. But currently, 150 plus banks and funded agencies adopted the same principles, where we find 25% increase in profitable eco-certified fisheries. So earlier, around 83% every year, where $83 of trillion were being lost every year. But now currently it is 25% increase. And apart from that blue economy, another system were being executed by this global initiative was Marine Ecotourism Certification Program, where it is called as earlier we talk about MSC, and now it is talking about GST. The revenue boosts alone 35% higher tourist spending in certified locations, where the habitual protections happen to around 50% less coral damage at regulated dive sites. And the local empowerment is around 60% income increases for community guides. And before that, unregulated tourism were happened, and which was damaged to 70% of reefs, and 80% of profits leaked to foreign operators. But currently, 500 plus certified operators in the worldwide are functioning in the system of GSTC. And you don't believe, dollar 12 billion every year in ecotourism revenue is generating. That is a huge volume. So whichever is giving in a negative sense were being converted as a positive aspects because of various global initiatives. Let me jump up to the next one is about global initiatives to increase the scientific knowledge, research, technology for ocean health. So the UN Decade of Ocean Science is planned between 2021 to 2030, where the main impact of this global initiative, UN Decade of Ocean Science is the data accessibility. 60% increase in open access ocean data sets, where the policy integration is about 45 nations using this science-based marine spatial plans, where the techno innovation is happened for $2 billion invested in AI-driven ocean monitoring. And before that implementation of this program, 20% of seabed mapped at high resolution, fragmented national research efforts were taken. But currently, 40% of oceans digitally mapped, 500 plus new oceans observations platforms deployed for this alone particularly. And along with the UN Decade of Ocean Science, the Global Agro Program were started initiatives, and the ocean cleanup plastic monitoring technology were being implemented. So the ocean cleanup impact metrics is very clearly said, like Indian Ocean coverage around 65%, with increased coverage for ocean health, and 90% of fuel reductions has happened because of this, and 300 plus waste interceptions were being moved on it. By we are giving more protections on this. And these pictures are clearly giving informations about this one. And the next image is talking about global initiatives to support small scale fisheries. Sorry, let me close it. Which supports small scale fisheries. The global initiatives were taken about indigenous marine conservations and achievements. The first one is fish biomass, traditional knowledge, and then the carbon storage, which talks about the graphical present that the data presentations about 25% higher fish biomass were happened, and 120 traditional knowledge systems documented for marine conservation, and then the protected sea grasses store over 1 million tons of CO2. And when it comes to the another fair trade certified seafood, 20 to 30% higher market prices for certified catch, and 15,000 plus fisheries certified were happened in Indonesia, Kenya, and then Mexico. These countries were being certified the fishers, and 400 plus retailers stocking fair trade seafood are happening. So the small scale fisheries are getting more benefit out of the system, where the fishing mortality, funding for communities, price differentiations are huge out there, and poverty rate is getting reduced 70%. Certified fisheries are there, and retailers, as I said earlier, and 60 plus countries are focusing on this, where the income is getting increased, and then women in leadership are focused on this 40% more, and policy marginalization around 85%, and the co-management systems and global recognitions are happening in this small scale fisheries. And the next one is about, and the last one is about the global initiatives to implement and enforce international sea law. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea enforcement happened. That is what called as a UNCLOS, UNCLOS. The impact of this law is about dispute resolution, which about 25 plus maritime boundary conflicts peacefully settled in this. Well, about every day, international news medias were telecasting about the problems happening between one country to another country, where nearly because of implementation of this includes the differences opinion of between the countries in maritime usages were been getting reduced drastically. It is based on the mutual understanding between one country to another country, because we need to think like a global is always a local. When you think the global is a local, we have a very good interconnect with our system with another country people. That is what happened because of this enclosed law. And apart from this enclosed laws, like if the port state measures agreement were started in this systems where which 75 plus countries implemented 100% vessel inspections in United Europe Union ports, which more supportive for this international law. And the high sea treaties were happened because of this agreement in the last year 2023. 70 nations were signed in this agreement, and where around 60 countries were ratified with this system. So the four new high seas MPS were proposed in this international law. So the coming up days, we can find more number of enforcement law were being forced to create to protect our oceans. This is what the few targets about this. Where what the things we need to do is like we need to go for a charity formation through the donations to protect the oceans and reduce the wastage, clean up projects and river and oceans, never buy bottled waters, and run a campaign on the effects of plastic use, buy local and certified fish. Even though we've been talking about all these things to do, but the policy maker need to support us in certain things where they try to, because we need to balance both. Industry is highly important for the economic development, and also not only if we fail to look after the industry, the economic will get down. And if we are giving more protections for the industry, the pollution may be getting increased. So parallelly, the rulers and then the administrators need to balancing all these entire ecosystems. So that is why it is getting delay for us to implement the systems immediately. But gradually, there is a speed in process of implementing all the good cuts, which can protect not only the ocean for all the entire systems. And where let me take few times to discuss about the benefits of oceans, ecological, economic, and social importance. As I said earlier, 71% of the Earth's surface are fundamental to life of our own planet. I have given it like the benefits are spanned with the ecological balance, economic prosperity, and climate regulations, food security, and cultural significance are happening in this. Let me take a few minutes to explain each point separately, like benefits of oceans are the ecological benefits. The biodiversity hotspot A is the oceans host 80% of Earth's biodiversity, which includes 240,000 plus marine species were being safe because of this. And the coral reefs, which supports 25% of marine life despite covering less than 1% of the ocean floors, which was noted by NOAA. And the oxygen production is about more on this, and more oxygen comes from oceans than rainforests. So we need to safeguard it. And the carbon sequestrations, oceans absorbs 30% of CO2 and emissions. And mangroves, seagrasses, and salt marshes store 5x more carbon per acre than tropical forest. That is the ecological benefits are because of these oceans. And economic benefits, what we are attaining because of these oceans are 90% of global trades are happening. And every year, 2.5 trillion transactions, business transactions and transportations are happening every year because of the industries. And 3 billion people rely on seafood, as I said earlier, and 59.5 million people work in fisheries. And the tourism is a very big areas where it creates more revenue generations, which it's cross about $1.5 trillion every year based on the report given by UNWTO, that is what the World Tourism Organizations given this data. And snorkeling, diving, and beach tourism supports millions of jobs. When it comes to the climate regulations, the picture image itself very clearly explained. Observe excess heat, distribute heat, regulate weathers, reduce wave energy, and protect coastal cities. The statistics data says like ocean absorbs 93% of excess heat from greenhouse gases, which is given by IPCC data. It is IPCC is talking about the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. You know. And the next one is about social importance or like food security and nutrition. The seafood provides 20% of animal proteins for 3.3 billion people and rich in omega-3 vitamins and minerals crucial for human health. And the medicinal and the scientific discoveries are there where the marine derived drugs treat cancers. For an example, I had quote on like yandles from sea squids and then HV and pain. NIH have been happened because of this. And coral reef organisms are used in bone grafts and antiviral research are supposed to happen because of this. And the cultural and the spiritual values are creating. How can you say that it is a spiritual value like the deep cultural ties for communities? Many indigenous communities, Polynesians and then Inuits have deep cultural ties to oceans, where in our practices we worship the ocean. We call it as Mata. You know, Mata is mother. Ocean is called as in our language we call it as Mata because which feed us the river. Because water is a basic thing for a human to live. You know, so we call it as mom. We call it as a mother. And then the ocean inspired art, music, and traditions enrich global heritage. So we need to protect the nature. And what are the challenges for the ocean sustainability? For ocean sustainability, because even though the data were been presented, almost the time is running short. So let me present only the crispy informations about the pictures which I presented in this. So when it comes to ocean sustainability, plastic pollution is there, overfishing is there, climate change is there, deep sea mining and funding gaps are there. These are the 5 challenges what we are facing, and the steps taken by the United Nations are trying to reduce the problems which is happening because of this 5 areas. So the the data presentation is already delivered. And again, when it comes to funding, climate change is happening because of this, and then deep sea, everything which I said earlier, and invisibility of ocean degradation, what is happening, you know, there is a psychological distance are happening, and underwater pollution is there, unseen consequences are there, lack of mapping, limited explorations, unmapped areas are there, and where only 5% of the ocean floor is mapped currently. And when it comes to innovative solutions, the technological breakthroughs are there, where the AI and the satellite monitoring, global fishing watches uses AI to track illegal fishing, where Indonesia reduced illegal fishing by 90% by using the real-time vessel tracking based on the report which I get it from 2020 Nature Sustainability. And biodegradable and circular alternatives are happening. So the mushrooms-based packaging is happening, and then Nautilus seaweed-based packaging is happening. And then marine carbon capture is happening, and policy and governance are there. Community-led conservations are happening. You know, in the Philippines, turf reserves, which is called as a community-managed fisheries, increase fish stocks by 50% based on the 2021 record. Even when it comes to the policy, European Union single-use plastic directive banned 10 plastic items, which reducing marine litter by 30% through the report of EEA 2023, you know. And these kind of innovative solutions were being introduced in all the countries to save the ocean. And being an academician, let me take a few points to address in this forum is the research outcomes. Already there are so many people who have been into the research and they identified the gaps are there, where 2 major reports which I would like to address is Ocean Genome Projects, which is cataloging marine DNA for biotech innovations, which was framed in G7 Ocean deal in the year of 2023. And microplastic toxicity studies, which says like humans inject 5 gram of microplastic every week based on the worldwide report of 2019, because by consuming the fisheries, It means the fishes are consuming the plastics, where the humans are consuming the fishes, which has a 5 gram of plastics. And found in human blood and placenta, based on the report of 2022. So we need to protect our health also. And I can say like the curriculum integration is highly important nowadays, even though there are so many open elective courses are available and possibly for us to introduce. The entire education system need to come up with ocean management in as a transdisciplinary courses where the blending engineering, policies and ecology has to be taught to the students of all the disciplines. And in particular to the business schools, SDG 14 has to be implemented as one of a course called a Sustainable Seafood Supply Chain Models. By presenting this forum, I have an idea to introduce this as one of a course for my B school students. And funding and collaborations are main role, where the UN Decade of Ocean Science are $1 billion plus pledged for marine research alone. So there are opportunities and possibilities are there, and we need to utilize that opportunities. And apart from that funding agencies, the industry academia partnerships, where an example I quoted is Adidas and Parleys, where they come up with the shoes from ocean plastics. 10 million pairs of shoes sold as on date. So it is one of a good initiative by the industry who can humbly using the plastics to save the nature. And immediate call to actions are the ocean is our planet, life support system, but it is in crisis. The SDG 14 needs urgent coordinated action from all sectors. Below is a detailed actionable plans for governments, businessmen, researchers, individuals, and media and influencers. The government, they need to take strengthen the legal framework. They need to ratify and enforce the High Seas Treaty. They ban the harmful fishery subsidies, implement extended producer responsibility, and expand marine protected areas, that is what called as MPA, and invest in blue economics. This is the kind call to action for the government and the policy makers. And for the businessmen and industries, eliminate plastic waste, adopt circular packaging, join the UN Global Compact Ocean Stewardship Coalition. Sustainable seafood sourcing can be happened by implementing use blockchain traceability and source only MSC certified seafood, and fund ocean innovation by the way of invest in blue carbon credits and support startups. That can be a good advice for the business and industries. And for scientists and academicians, accelerate research, map the ocean floor, study deep sea mining impacts, where 6,000 plus unknown species are at risk based on the data given by IUCN, and develop scalable solutions for this problem, scale up coral restoration, improve desalination technologies, and advocate for policy changes which can push up to open access data, and join the UN Decade of Ocean Science, which is designed for 2021-2023. As of now, 125 plus funded projects need experts. Still, there is a deficit in the experts. And call to action for the individual and the communities: reduce plastic use, make ethical seafood choices, and then demand corporate and political actions to buy fast companies using ocean harming plastics, and support indigenous leaderships. Call to action for media and influencers who can easily project all the things what is happening, but their support and is highly necessary for us to promote these schemes, spread awareness about it, and use storytelling for your students and children. By the way of even I have an idea to present a few films regarding this one, but due to time constraints, let me close my conversation with this. Thank you all for your patience listening about the presentations, what has happened right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Maria Pan, for the valuable presentation. And it's very excited. And now I want to invite our second speaker, Dr. Alma Delia Herrera Marquez. Dr. Alma Delia Herrera Marquez is a faculty member of at the Faculty of Law of the Autonomous University of Chihuahua in Mexico. She specializes in constitutional law and international human rights law. Her research focuses on equality, gender, non-discrimination law, vulnerable groups, and international treaties. Dr. Herrera Marquez also serves as the director of the Observatory of the Right to Equality and Public Policies. Her notable publications include Weakness in the Current Systems of Incorporation of International Treaties into Mexican Law, Migration in North America, Mexican Migration Policy from a Human Rights Perspective, and Gender Violence in Dating, a Critical Review from Comparative Law. And we are listening, Dr. Hera, the platform is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for the invitations. It is an honor to speak before you today to reflect on a reality we can no longer ignore. The ocean crisis as an urgent challenge for global governance and human rights. This is no longer a future threat, it is a present crisis. Rising sea levels, ocean acidifications, and marine biodiversity loss are not only disrupting ecosystems, but also causing hunger, displacement, and severe violations of fundamental human rights. Rising sea levels, this occurs when the average sea levels rise primarily due to glacier melts and the warming on the oceans. It threatens coastal areas and island nations. As their land gradually becomes submerged. Ocean acidification. This happens with carbon dioxide in the atmosphere dissolves into sweeter, lowering its pH and affecting marine life, particularly species than for shells or skeleton from calcium carbonate, such as corals, mollusks, and certain crustaceans. Marine biodiversity loss. This refers to the decline in species and the degradations of ocean ecosystems caused by overfishing, pollution, habitat destruction, for example, coral reefs and climate change. From the Faculty of Law on the Autonomous University of Coahuila, we launched an interdisciplinary research project to address a key question. How can ocean protection be approached through and human rights and climate justice lens? Through an analysis of treaties such as the United Nations Conventions on the Law on the Sea, UNCLOS, the Paris Agreement, and case studies on vulnerable communities, we identified three major problems. Governance. Governance is fragmented and lacks effective enforcement mechanisms. Many international agreements rely on voluntary state compliance and do not include real sanctions for violations. This is not just about saving the ocean, it is about securing the very foundations of human life for millions of people worldwide. When we talk about ocean conservation, we are talking about safeguarding entire cultures, economies, and ways of life that depend on other marine ecosystem. Defending the ocean today means defending the right to life, food, land, and human dignity. Climate justice cannot wait, as recent levies continue to threaten coastal and inland communities, and as ocean acidification and biodiversity loss undermine crucial source of sustenance, the global community face urgent moral and political imperative. It is a story that must be paid through political will, academic engagement, and meaningful global cooperation. This requires far more than declarations or symbolic measures, but legally binding actions are necessary to ensure real accountability and rapid chance. Let us begin here, not with empty speech, but with actionable purpose that bring together science, law, and the voice of those who had been historically ignored. Indigenous people, government, youth activists, and vulnerable populations must be given and set at the table. Their perspective and traditional knowledge enrich policy making and growth in the realities of those who experience the brunt of environmental injustice. Two, there is a disconnect between environmental treaties and human rights frameworks. Although indigenous peoples, coastal communities, and artisanal fishers are the most affected, their rights are neither highlighted nor protected in current international instruments. This is growing and concerning disconnect between environmental threats in international human rights frameworks. While both files theoretical and to protect the well-being of individuals and communities in practice. They often operate in parallel, failing to intersect in meaningful ways. This is especially evident when it comes to the rise of indigenous peoples, coastal communities, and artisanal fisher groups that are on the front lines of environmental degradation and climate change. This population rely heavily on natural ecosystems for their cultural survival, economic sustenance, and collective identity. Yet, despite their heightened vulnerability, their specific rights and perspectives are rarely prioritizations in environmental governance. Most international environmental treaties, such as those under the framework of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change or the Convention on Biological Diversity, tend to emphasize state-level commitments and technical solutions, while overlooking the social political dimensions of environmental harm. Similarly, although international human rights instruments such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights under International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights recognize the rights to life, health, and participation. They seldom integrate environmental considerations into their core mandates. Differentiation result is a systemic failure to safeguard the most affected populations, indigenous communities, often face displacement, loss of ancestral lands, and erosion of traditional knowledge without proper consultation or consent. Coastal populations suffer the consequence of rising sea levels and resource depletion. They remain excluded from policy-making process. Artisanal fishers who play a key role in food security and biodiversity preservation are frequently left unprotected against industrial fishing practices and marine pollution. To bridge this gap, there is a pressing need to harmonize environmental law with human rights law, incorporating principles such as free, prior, and informed consent, environmental justice, and the recognition of natural as a rights-bearing entity. Without this integration, international law risks perpetuating the structural inequalities and ecological injustice under the guise of sustainability. 3. Community participation is limited due to structural barriers, language and technical jargon in international forums, lack of access to information and prior consultation processes, digital, educational, and economic inequality preventing effective political engagement or organization. Who is most affected? Pacific Island nations tied to Tuvalu, Kiribati, and the Marshall Islands, whose territories are literally despairing under the sea. Afro-descendant and indigenous coastal communities such as the Garifuna in Honduras or the Guna people in Panama. Artisanal fishers in Latin America, Africa, and Asia who are losing their livelihoods due to overfishing and pollution. What strategies do we propose to address this crisis? 1. A multi-level and inclusive governance model that combines binding international legal norms, real community participation in climate decision-making, legal obligation for polluting companies, especially in the global north. 2. Legal integration of human rights into environment treaties. The right to a healthy environment must have the same legal standing and enforceability as other fundamental rights. 3. Legal recognition on affected peoples as active stakeholders in environmental governance. This means giving them access to research, training, and participation in national, regional, and international decisions making. Conclusions. This is not just about saving the ocean, it is about protecting those who depend on it. Defending the ocean today means defending the rights to life, food, land, and human dignity. Climate justice cannot wait. It is history that must be paid through political will, academic engagement, and global cooperation. Let us begin here not with empty speech, but with actionable proposals that bring together science, law, and the voices of those who have been historically ignored. Thank you very much. This is not about saving the ocean. It is about securing the very foundation of human life for millions of people worldwide. We will talk about ocean conservation. We are talking about safeguarding entire cultures, economies, and ways of life that depend on healthy marine ecosystem. Defending the ocean today means defending the right to life, food, land, and human dignity. Climate justice cannot wait. Recent sea levels continue to threaten coastal and island communities, and as ocean acidification and biodiversity loss undermine crucial source on sustenance, the global community face an urgent moral and political imperative. It is a story that must define through political, academic engagement, and meaningful global cooperation. This requires far more than declarations or symbolic measures, while legally binding actions are necessary to ensure real accountability and rapid change. Let us begin here not with entire species, but with actionable proposals that bring together a sign law and the voices of two who have been historically ignored. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Asena Bostas.
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you, Dr. Herrera Marquez, for that enlightening presentation. And finally, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce our last speaker for today, Professor Yong Jong Puk. Professor Yong is a distinguished faculty member at the Faculty of Law at Sultan Zainal Abidin University in Malaysia, where he has established himself as a respected academic and researcher with an impressive 25 years of experience in education and compliance. Professor Yong brings valuable insights to our discussions on SGD 14. His research interests span cutting-edge fields, including metaverse technologies and artificial intelligence, particularly as they relate to legal frameworks and environmental governance. Professor Yong's interdisciplinary approach combines legal expertise with technological innovation, offering unique perspectives on how emerging technologies can be leveraged to address the challenges facing our oceans and marine ecosystems. His work on compliance frameworks is particularly relevant to our discussions today on implementing and enforcing sustainable ocean management practices. His contributions to academic research are well documented through numerous publications available on ResearchGate and many websites that we can say, where his work continues to influence scholars and practitioners alike in this field of law, technology, and sustainability. Professor Yong's expertise in legal compliance systems provides valuable insights into how regulatory frameworks can be strengthening to better protect our marine environments and ensure sustainable use of ocean resources. And please join us welcoming Professor Yong Jong Puk to share his valuable insights on the legal and technological dimensions of ocean sustainability under SGD 14. And the platform is yours, Professor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to the chair lady, Asena Bostas, for the introduction. I hope you can help me upload my slide. And good evening to everyone here. It is a joy to join and to see you, and also to share my humble expertise with all the distinguished members. I will keep the slide very short, and I will focus on the important point adopted by Malaysia with regards to SDG below water, 14 below water. Thank you. Okay. The title of the talk today is SDG, Life Below Water, Malaysian Perspective from the ASEAN region. Yeah? So in ASEAN, we have 10 countries, and Malaysia is one of the key countries with regards to SDG 14. So I'm going to talk about what is SDG Goal 14, and also how do we appreciate this objective, and Malaysia perspective on SDG 14. I'm also going to discuss the compliance and regulatory approach, and also how we can develop a better implementation for the year 2025 until 2030. All right. Now, SDG 17 is a big dream, right? And we need to work together. And Malaysia, as in the ASEAN region, is an important player in the SDG, especially SDG 14, life below water. Next slide, please. Now, I will not spend so much time on life below water because everyone is aware of what is life below water. I will share with you the Malaysian experience. So what are the objectives? To conserve and to sustain the use. So the big question for all of us in our country now, from Turkey, India, Mexico, and Malaysia, where do we start with the goal 14? Next. All right, as you can see here, goal 14 here, there are 7 major targets and 3 additional targets, right? So all of these targets, all of our country, we have to work together to achieve them. However, it is not easy to achieve all of this because Turkey is different, Mexico is different, India is different, and Malaysia is also different. So how do we solve this problem? Next. So we have the major target and also the additional targets to achieve compliance. Right. However, in the real life, it is very difficult to achieve due to some problem already discussed by Dr. Mariappan and also Alma from Mexico. Yeah. So I will share with you some other barrier, how we can overcome them. Next. All right, the Malaysian aspect, the Malaysian perspective, I will share with you some of the latest updates on how Malaysia comply with the SDG 14, life below water. This is an indicator study done by one of the research institute. So we have indicator 14.5, protect area for marine. Also, we have key biodiversity area, and also we have a fishing problem. So this is available on the website for all the country to click and download and to see how Malaysia has complied with SDG 14. Yeah. So we also can look at some of the case study, SDG 14, and this is set in Malaysia by the Economic Planning Unit, EPU, the Prime Minister Department of Malaysia. So this is the unit that is responsible in implementing SDG 14. Now, the next slide, I'm going to share with you the master plan, how SDG is being addressed in Malaysia. So this is a very detailed plan by the Economic Unit. You can see that Malaysia is serious in implementing SDG or the SDG 17, especially SDG 14, life below water. So this is our strategic plan and organization, how we can work together with all the ministry and all the industry players in Malaysia. How we can implement them together, Malaysia, on the government sector, the industry, and also the private sector. Right, so we have a good plan here, implementing. Now we also need to align the goal number 14 within the Malaysian National Development Plan. Right, so currently we are using the National Development Plan number 11, which is valid for 5 years. Right, so now we are in the final year 2025, and the government is developing a new plan for SDG 14, life below water. Next slide. Now, in implementing the life below water goal 14, Malaysian government has developed the 11 Malaysian plan, right? So now we are in the year of 2025. So that would be the Malaysian plan number 12. Now, beyond 2025, the Malaysian government has developed another plan, the 13th plan, right? So this is the history of implementation of the UN SDG goal since 11 Malaysian plans. So you can see the arrow that I've shown you, right? Life below water 14, goal 14, life below water. So Malaysia has been very serious in implementing this from the economic perspective. So this shows that Malaysia is serious to work together with the private sector in implementing goal 14, including other goals as well, as shown in the exhibit number 2 here. Okay, next slide. So Malaysian approach to the 11 Malaysian plan, 12 and today 13, right, is driven by several pillars, and this pillar will be implemented at all level, at the national level, in cooperation with the industry. So you can see that all the pillar here, different pillar is adopted to achieve different SDG goals. So for life below water, you can see it comes under pillar number 5, enhancing environmental sustainability through green growth. So what is the meaning of green growth? It means green industry, green industrialization. And I believe green industrialization is also growing very strongly in Turkey, right? And also in India and also in Mexico, right? So these are the 3 countries spoken by the speaker just now, right? On how we can drive the green technology. So green technology is one of the way where we can help to achieve some of the targets in the SDG 14 life below water. I'm going to share you some of the case study. Next slide, please. Okay, compliance and regulatory for SDG 14. Now Malaysia is very serious. What are we going to do from 2025 until 2030? Are we on track to achieve sustainability development? The answer is yes and no. Next slide. Now, Malaysia has put great importance on SDG 14 by integrating into the 11 Malaysian plan, number 11, number 12, and today, number 13. And we have several strategy and initiatives. One of them is to improve green industrialization, right? Green industrialization, right? So we have case study. The case study of Kuala Lumpur. If you all have visited Kuala Lumpur, right, you will realize that Kuala Lumpur is recognized as a green city, especially so in the new city of Cyberjaya and Putrajaya. So these are the 2 new big cities that is considered as a green city, especially Putrajaya and Cyberjaya. So Kuala Lumpur is a very old country, so it has some problem in complying with sustainability development, but it is also a major player. Now, when we talk about SDG in Malaysia, we have the problem of pollution. And I think this problem is also prevalent in India, pollution also in Mexico and also in Turkey, where the water are polluted. So in Malaysia, we have some of the case study by the Ministry of Environment. You can see that there are many rivers which are not clean or polluted. And this is explained by our Green Minister, Nick Nazmi, in Parliament recently. So this is one of the example, right? How we need to work to preserve the water, the river, right? Otherwise, the pollution from the river will go out to the sea and pollute the sea, and we will have a global problem faced by Mexico, India, Turkey, and all of us and all of our country. So we can see that the pollution in the river is also a major issue. So I can give you an executive summary, right? How we are going to tackle this SDG 14. So Malaysia continue to face SDG 14 challenges, right? In its SDG report. The latest report that we submitted is a 2021. Right, so we have one of the main problems is because of the low proportion of key biodiversity area, KBA, for the marine side. As mentioned by Dr. Maria Pan previously on the economic exclusive zone, right? We have also exclusive economic zone for Malaysia, for Mexico, for Turkey as well. However, compliance is low because of the low proportion of KBA, that needs to be protected from pollution. And also our ocean health index. I do not know about India and Mexico or Turkey, but for Malaysia, our ocean health index is also quite poor. So we need to improve this performance, right, so that we can comply with SDG 14. Next slide. With that, I think I've already completed my summary updates on with regards to compliance with SDG from the Malaysian perspective. And if you have any question, you are always free to WhatsApp me, and also you are free to email me. Perhaps we can also collaborate how we can move forward SDG 14, right, on a global level. With this, I surrender the floor back to our chair lady, and I thank everyone for your ears, and for your heart and for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Young, for that insightful presentation to bridging legal frameworks and technological innovation in the context of ocean sustainability and so on. And distinguished participants, we have had a privilege today of hearing from the exceptional speakers who have shared their expertise and insights of various aspects of SDG 14, life below water. We now conclude today's session. I would like to thank our three distinguished speakers once again for sharing their valuable knowledge and experiences with us. I believe their work under SDG 14 will make significant contributions to our global efforts for sustainable oceans and seas. I wish you all a good day and look forward to seeing you tomorrow's sections of our summit, and give the word to Professor Dr. Rashmi Gujrati. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashana. And thank you, our esteemed speakers, distinguished guests, faculty members, and enthusiastic participants, students. On behalf of Tradepreneur Global Association and Sakarya University of Applied Science, I give my big thanks to Dr. Mariappan, Dr. Alma, and Professor Dr. Jeong. Today's seminar has been an incited and thought-provoking exploration into the critical importance of our ocean, sea, and other sources. We have been privileged to hear from experts and thought leaders who have eliminated the challenges we face and the urgent need for the collective action to protect and sustainable manage our adequate ecosystem. So it has become a very important for us to keep our ocean and sea clean. My sincere thanks to all our speakers and sharing their invaluable knowledge, research, and perspective on various aspects of SDG 14. My big thanks to all the joiners, those who have joined through this portal. Thank you very much, and we will meet tomorrow again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night, good evening, and see you again.
Thank
Sayonara.
you.